Hello, this is the Morning Gardener Show, and you're live with the Morning Gardener. I am coming in roughly about an hour ago. I came in, I did a walk around through my yard, and people usually ask me, do I spend time going out into my garden? And I actually do. I go out into the garden and I look around and see what's going on. And hello, how's everyone? Um, to make sure that the garden is in a condition, nothing has fallen, dropped. Nothing is, drying out. Hello, gardening realtor. Let's see, we got here, Davis. Hello, hello. Um, I have, I have, I have grew, folks, some beautiful, beautiful black soil on my property, and I'm so happy with it because the bulk of it grows from just something I've been talking about for a very long time, and it's called chop and drop. Now, a lot of videos, what they did in my case was they made it difficult to understand because they kept saying in some of the videos back in the day when I would watch some of the videos, and I just started a lot of reading on chopping and dropping. Uh, and it goes like this. Excuse me. Chopping and dropping, they were telling me that there were certain weeds that could be used, certain things that could be used, and they wouldn't be straight with the answer. So I said, wait a minute, something's wrong here. They're telling me it can only be comfrey or it can only be this particular plant. And I found out, folks, through me doing what I do, I found I can be any and every plant. So that's what I do. I take any and every plant. I go out there with my weed whacker, or some of you call it weed trimmer, and I trim down everything that is on the property and I let it lay there. Now I have another instant where I got to go out there and I got to do the same thing. I got to trim everything down, um, and or I go out there through the larger garden, which is the main garden. I go up there with my tractor and I just drive through and I just cut everything down nice and even. And once I do that, um, I have nothing but fertilizer going into the ground. Now, here's what I want to say to you. I pick up a flower pot, I pick up a container from one of my plants, and the biggest night crawler you want to see is underneath there. And he is quick, he moves straight into his hole or her hole, and and um, uh, and it's a healthy situation. So I'm thinking, how did this? What was my soil like? It just amazes me. What was my soil like 19 years ago when I first, got this property? Here's what the soil was like. It was a brownish soil. It was very sticky. It was very uh, it was sticky. It was when you hit it with a shovel, you could barely get a shovel into it. Um, you could once you got the shovel into it, you pulled up a portion of the soil. It was a white or off-white marbling in it, telling me that the soil was just in really, uh, in my opinion, bad shape. It was in bad shape to grow anything. So I kept chopping and dropping. That's what I kept doing. Every time I would go around, and the weeds kept growing. The weeds kept growing, and as the weeds grew, um, it created a situation whereby the soil was just improving and improving and improving. Every time I kept chopping and dropping, it kept improving. It just kept getting better. So that being said, I definitely have some pretty soil. When I look at my soil, I say, "Oh my God, I cannot believe this soil is the same soil I started out with." So the bottom line is, you start with soil, and some people are still, they starting with the plant, and I don't start with the plant anymore. I just start with the soil. So that's how that works. Start with the soil. Get the soil in good shape with biology, and the biology will help improve your soil. And they work for free. They work absolutely for free. instead of you hiring a big company out there to dig out all your poor soil. And I'll thank you for the thumbs up. Uh, Dig out all your poor soil and come in and dump in a bunch of topsoil, which you don't know where it came from or what's in it. Um, so I'm feeling good about my soil. I went out there and I looked around, and the trees are doing quite well. Um, I can't say anything bad about what's going on out there. And it's all being done naturally. Um, I am having issues with a cherry tree. It has a slight virus or some kind of a disease, and and I don't really care because the tree either was not meant to survive in this location, and it's going to die, or it's going to make it. One of the two. But I'm not going to neglect it or anything. I'm still going to feed it in a few days. It's still going to be fed along with the other trees. Um, it's still going to be watered when it's time. If I need to water it this year at any given time, it's still going to be done. But trees that don't make it weren't meant to be in this environment. Trees that do extremely well, those are the trees that I'm concerned about. Now my peach trees, God, they did well. I mean, I put them in and it's just survived, and they just got bigger and bigger and like that. So I'm happy with that. Um, there is an apple. I'm changing the subject now. There's an apple, and I only said that because sometimes I can change subjects and people say, "Wait a minute, did you just change something?" But here's what's going on. I had a situation where the I was looking online, and there's a apple that's called a ambrosia. So nobody appears to have it but one store online, and that's just sad. Ambrosia. I don't know if it's a relatively new apple. I'm not gonna put that out there, but I know it's an apple that not a lot of people have, ambrosia. And I tried looking for it because it was supposed to be as big as hit as the Honeycrisp apple. And Honeycrisp apple, came on the scene, and everybody wanted the apples at the stores to eat. And I got a little smart about it. I just started buying the Honeycrisp apple trees and putting them in. And once I start putting them in, they're getting up around age now where they're starting to produce apples. Um, my pink lady is another great apple tree, and I have that now. That's producing this year. Pink lady. Um, First time it produced. Pink lady. So I had a good time, folks. I had a really good time. Um, Doing well, and this is going to be a really short show today, folks. It's going to be short. The only time I really stay online, it feels like, is when you got a whole room full of people and everybody's participating in questions and answers and things like that, and you're giving out information, and it makes you want to go, okay, let's just keep this going. But right now, it's just an information day. I'm just giving out information. Um, but I put in some plants. The corn's doing good. I checked that. Only one corn is sticking out of the ground. The other side of the yard only has corn sticking out, but it is doing well. Everything is doing well. We had a dip in temperatures a couple of nights ago. It went down to 40. I want to say 46 degrees, and that can be very traumatic for corn. But I believe it's still alive. And the watermelon plants did well, and everything did well. It's just that I'm just waiting on this party to get started. Um, it was rough starting seedlings this year. Um, it was rough starting seedlings this year. I don't know if this has something to do with the seeds that they're selling, or a combination of the type of seeds I bought. But I never had problems with starting tomatoes, and this year I did. I mean, I actually, had problems. Cucumbers, watermelon. growing up, getting elongated, then leaning over the side of the container and dying. And I said, something is not right here. So now I'm basically catching up is what I'm doing. And everything is on schedule, but it's, I like to grow tomato plants that are 12 and 12 and 13, 14 inches tall. And those are the ones I like to start off with when I go put them in the ground. Um, Bought a new spade. It's 12 inches deep, this spade, and I love it. I love this spade. I will use it primarily for planting tomato plants, and that's what I'm going to use it for. So everything looks good. Everything looks good. I'm actually on schedule, but for me, I feel like I'm a little late because I like to be ahead of the game. All right, it's I've been on here for 11 minutes, and we have a few more minutes to go, and then we'll be next week, as I said earlier, Mondays at between 5 and 5:30, and also Wednesday between 5 and 5:30. That's when we'll start the show. And I've had shows that ran over. The longest show I've had on the internet was about well, what time was it about? Hour 43 minutes, and that was a lot of talking that day. But it was we had a good group of people on. They were participating. They were talking. They were getting involved with the show, and they were asking questions, the things they wanted to know. And it was also sharing information of things they've learned in their gardening experience that help them to become better gardeners. And so they were sharing that information. I thought that was quite interesting. But that's what we do. We get on here and we talk and we share the information, and the information gets out there, and people definitely learn when they come on this channel. Uh, I definitely put the word out. You do not need to spend a boatload of money or in order to, to, you know, grow something. You don't need to spend a bunch of money. You don't need to. If you're spending a bunch of money, you're doing something incorrect. But the stores will allow you to spend as much money as you got in your account. So that's how that works. That's how that works. And so that's how we work it. Nice, nice. But all my plants look healthy. My fruit trees are doing great. I didn't shoot any videos today in the yard because there wasn't much change on things. You know what I mean? Like you go out there and it wasn't much change. So I said, no, we're not going to do any video because I just shot a video out there maybe 2 days ago. So it's not much growth in 2 days. So, but I'm just absolutely ecstatic that tomorrow, if the weather permits, I'll be out there cutting grass, and my grass is some of the prettiest, bluest grass y'all want to see because again, my lawnmower is set up to mulch. I don't buy fertilizer for my grass. I just don't do it. Um, and then I also take and clean up the grass clippings at times, and I put them around my rose bushes. They do two things: they mulch, and they also put down fertilizer, and they keep the ground cool on the hot summer days. So that being said, my my roses are going to be pretty this year. Oh, thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. And okra, okra is one of the last things I put in. So I might put two variety of okra in this year. Depends on how I feel, but um, I'm hoping that that I mean okra. I'm going to put quite a bit of okra in. So that because okra is a plant that it's a unique eating experience. Or in other words, it's an acquired taste. And you got to be on top of okra. You got to go out there every 1 or 2 days and clean them vines off of the okra pods, because if you don't, they grow big quick, and they will definitely give you a problem with you just grow a whole bunch of seeds is what you'll be doing. So it is now 15 minutes in, and I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. Uh, my weather here is beautiful, 64 degrees. It's nice and cool, yet warm enough to wear a little short sleeve shirt and go out there and check your plants. So I'm obsessed with the main thing is keeping soil right. But I love the fact that I get out there and do what I got to do with the with adding just one ingredient to my soil, one, and that is chop and drop. That's it. Adding that to my soil. Adding that to my soil. Chop and drop. And that definitely helps my game out right there. One gentleman sent me an email. He said, "What are you feeding your plants?" Because he saw how pretty they look. What are you feeding your plants? And the container plants are getting fish emulsion. The natural thing is just fish. Um, the ones in the ground, they're getting just by chop and drop soil. Chop and drop soil. That's all they're getting, and they are definitely doing their thing. Let's see. We're leading in. It's just at 5:55, and we got. I mean, we just. I'm just totally thrilled about the fact that um, the new grapevine that I put in about what is it, about a week and a half ago. I put the grapevine in. I got to tell you, folks, it's doing great. It's doing great. The hardy kiwi that I put in this year is finding its way. It's starting to, the plant is doing quite well, and I'm happy with it. I am happy. It's an adjustment a plant's got to do when you take it from where it was at in the store in a bag, bring it here and put it in some different soil. Um, I think what's going on is that kiwi is definitely a fast grower. You got to keep an eye on it because it definitely will take over an area. So you can keep it trimmed. You got to stay on it, and it's mostly trimmed during the summer months. So we're good, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. If you have any questions whatsoever before we close out, let me know. Do you still make the black cow? Wait a minute. Do you still make a black cow food? I don't know if I think you're asking, do I still use black cow? Um, but if you're asking if I'm still using black cow, I use black cow for the nitrogen. And yes, okay, I got you. There we go. Now, I think you left a message one time where you asked whether or not the cows are fed hormones and that sort of thing. And the representative from Black Cow actually hit me up when he saw your question. He hit me up, and he said he said a lot of things in the information, but mainly what he said was that we there's a process that compost goes through, and also cow manure goes through when they bring it out to sell it. And he was explaining that. He said what they do is they turn the pile a number of times, and there's a process where they heat that stuff up, um, uh, up to 100. And don't quote me on this, but I believe it was 180 degrees. And he said that will kill any type of pathogens or if there are any hormones or anything given to the cows that would kill that particular input. So. I feel safe about using black cow. I just do. I've been I've been using it now for a few years. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I've used it for starting plants. I've used it for um, like I'll dig a hole and I'll put it in a hole along with compost, natural compost from my property. See, all I'm looking for is the living organisms in this stuff, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a combination of organisms because I believe in that adding as much life as you can to your planting hole. That's just something I've always done. Now, last year, using the same process, I grew some incredible tomatoes. Incredible. They were everywhere. And my only problem was, what am I going to do with all these tomatoes? That was it. My problem wasn't, oh, will they grow? But what am I going to do with all these tomatoes? They were everywhere. Um, Peppers, are they heavy feeders? No. Do they benefit from using black cow? Yes. If you grow something like a watermelon or cantaloupe, cantaloupe you can grow. For instance, a cantaloupe can grow, and it'll grow pretty and it'll be beautiful and everything. And you cut into it, it's got no flavor. And a lot of times that happens because you don't have the proper nutrients that the fruit needs. The same thing with watermelon. I grew watermelons and cantaloupes with black cow along with my compost, and I got to tell you, it was perfect. It was perfect. I grew a watermelon so sweet and pretty that I feel bad about saying this. I do, but I actually didn't want to share the watermelon. I didn't because they were that good. I cut it in half. I cut the heart out of it. I popped some in my mouth, and I said, "Oh my God!" And all that was wanting to do was just taste that one little plug that came out. I ate that whole slice. I put the rest in the refrigerator because I knew if I held it any longer, I wasn't going to share it, and I don't like to do that. But that's how good the melons go. So when I had that realization with Black Cow, I said, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to repeat this again because um, if you get a melon that sweet, you cannot just go, oh, well, um, I'm not going to grow it that way again. I'm going to try another way. No, you got to stick with what works. But Black Cow is all natural. They cook it, and heat is what's used. They do the same thing with uh, compost is from the good companies. They sell compost. They cook it, and that kills the seeds and all that kind of stuff that's inside of there. Any pathogens that's inside of it, it kills that stuff. And you want that to take place because if you do not kill the seeds, you can bring compost in your property, and you'll grow a whole bunch of weeds you've never seen before, and all kind of vines and everything. You know, but same thing with bringing in uh, what's that when the guy wood chips. I mean, you can bring wood chips in, and you got to be careful because you can bring a whole bunch of vines in, and like I did one time when I was using wood chips, I brought in vines that are just big and burly, and they all on the ground and everything, but they don't bother me because once they come up, and you'll never get them out off your property. You'll never get those vines off that property. Um, but you can work with them by you got to stay vigorously on them. You got to keep cutting. You got to keep chopping them off where you see them places. And what I did with the vines, I would cut the vines off, and I would lay them in the sun, let the sun kill them, and then into the compost area they would go. And that's what I would do. So everything that I'm using on my property, everything from tree branches to grass clippings to weeds to flowers, I don't care. I use it as something that will benefit my soil. And that's what I do. All right. It is now 24.28 minutes. And I've been talking. And it is now 6:03 p.m. And that's a good thing, folks. It means that you just got a beautiful day. It's been beautiful all day. It's cloudy here in Maryland. We got some rain coming probably Friday, but the rain's going to help me. because um, my rain is filling up those rain barrels of mine. I want to thank my common sense and the Lord above for letting me know that it is wrong to pay for water to water your garden if you can do better. And I did it. I got in my car, I drove out, I found barrels from a gentleman, and he, the food grade, yeah, okay. How much? Give me $5 for it. I said, okay, thank you. I got 2 barrels, and when I got those barrels, came home, set them down, and I had to think about how I was going to use them because everybody on the internet, they were cutting holes all in their barrels. And I didn't want to do that. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to cut holes in the barrels. And then they would set up a situation where they would aim the downspout into it, and it would allow for mosquitoes and everything to get into that water. And I said, I don't want that. So I came up with a system that's completely closed. And I could go run. How much water? I don't store a lot of water. I store about 100 gallons, and that's good enough for me. Um, but I was going to set it up for 200 gallons at first, and then I said I don't feel like 200 gallons of water, so let's just do 100 gallons. Now, if I feel like adding, I go get me 2 more 55-gallon drums. Do a manifold system, set them on some cinder blocks. If you see mine, they set on cinder blocks, 2 cinder blocks high. That creates a pressure that will allow it to fall quicker out of those drums when I open that valve. Now, I didn't get the regular valve like most people were getting. I got the ball valve that's made from PVC. That's what I did because the ball valves are just more sturdier a valve. The other valves, they leak and all that. I don't want that. They leak because they have what's that they got in them? They got that rubber gaskets and all in them. I don't want that. I want what I got, which is a ball valve. Dollar and something ball valve. 3/4 inch. I mean 3/4 size. That's what I got. Beautiful. 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 So that's how it works, folks. Okay, we got a couple more minutes to go, and if you have any questions, just go ahead and post them. If not, we'll continue on with the subject of what I've put in the ground so far, and also how to improve your soil. And that's what I've been doing, folks. All I care about is my soil. The plants are second nature. I'm not worried about the plants. I'm worried about the soil. That's the whole key. Could you imagine? I mean, I've seen videos where a guy he claimed to have some of the prettiest soil, and he does have pretty soil because I see him stick his hand all the way up to his elbow in the soil without using a tool or anything. It just inserted his arm. But he said that came from over 25 years of composting and that on that ground. So that's what he did. So that's not going to happen. If you do it 1 or 2 years, it's not going to happen. No way. So that's what happened. And his soil is some of the richest soil that I have ever seen in my life. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was the Morning Gardener Show. We talked a little bit about soil and about my garden and my plants and my plans. And I hope that each and every one of you got your gardens up and rolling the way you should. Get them up and rolling. And that's what I'm talking about. But I got to tell you, folks, the show is on Mondays, 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and also Wednesdays, 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And also, you may see at different times some additional shows thrown in. So that's what I do. So I had to come up with a time frame because people kept saying to me, they missed my show. They missed my show. And I didn't want people to keep missing my show. So I said, come up with a time, and then that way they'll know what time you're on. Oh, I see somebody there. I didn't look over here first. Sorry you missed the show. I'm sorry about that. But it will be on next week, Monday, and also Wednesday between 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. This has been the Morning Garden Show, and thank you very much for tuning in. And remember what I always say, just keep on growing. Thank you very much.